I'm supposed to speak.
Hare Krishna.
I'm Hare Krishna. Welcome to the question answer session. Today's topic will be Bhagavad Gita. If you have a question about Bhagavad Gita or the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita, you can feel free to ask at this point.
One question is coming. What is the desire in Krishna consciousness?
What is the
desire in
What is
Krishna consciousness?
the desire in Krishna consciousness? Yes, the desire in Krishna consciousness is to please Krishna. Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita that you fight, Arjuna, at the same time think of me. So how can we please Krishna? He says in the 18th chapter, verse 66, Manmana bhavava bhakto majati mam namaskuru. Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and offer your obeisances to me. And if you do this, I promise you that you will come to me. We will go to the spiritual world. This material world is full of misery, unhappiness. But in the spiritual world, there is no birth, no death, no old age, and no disease. A very happy place. So if we please, the desire in Krishna consciousness is to please Krishna, make Krishna happy. That's why we chant Hare Krishna also. Because Krishna is happy when he hears us call him, call his name. When we chant Hare Krishna, Krishna keeps our name in his heart. So Gita, always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and offer your obeisances to me. This is the desire. This should be our desire, to always think of Krishna, to become Krishna's devotee, to worship Krishna, and to offer homage, obeisance. And so one should become a pure devotee of Krishna, always think of him, and act for him. Life should be so molded, this is Prabhupada's purport, that one will always have the chance to think of Krishna. One should always act in such a way, all his daily activities are in connection with Krishna. He should arrange his life in such a way, throughout the 24 hours he cannot but think of Krishna. And the Lord's promise is anyone who is in such pure Krishna consciousness will certainly return to the abode of Krishna, where he will be engaged in association of Krishna face to face. Now, how to think of Krishna? We have to chant Hare Krishna. Chapter 8 in Bhagavad Gita is about attaining the Supreme. Same idea, go back to Godhead. How to go back to Godhead. And Srila Prabhupada in the purport, on all in 17 purports, he says, chant Hare Krishna, or he puts the full Hare Krishna mantra, and 17 purports in chapter 8. And Srila Prabhupada explains to us that thinking of Krishna means chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So that should be the desire.
Next question. Why Upanishad refers to Supreme God as Brahma, not Krishna?
I didn't understand. Why?
Upanishad.
Why?
Upanishad
refers
Supreme God as Brahman, not Krishna.
Yes. The Upanishads are hiding Krishna. But not all the Upanishads are saying Brahman. Yes, they are saying Brahman. So that's why Vyasadeva, he wrote the Upanishads, then he wrote Vedanta Sutra. And he said, who is God? Who is Brahman? Atato Brahma Jigyasa. That's what we should ask. Who is Brahman? That is, we are human beings. And Janmadhyasya Yataha, he said, that is Brahman, from whom everything is coming. Now you might wonder, well, maybe you could say everything's coming from Brahman. That's why Vyasadeva wrote a commentary on Vedanta Sutra, which is Srimad Bhagavatam. First verse, Jammadhyasa yaton vayadi taratas chartesa bhigya swarat. That who is this? What Janmadhyasya? Who? From whom is everything coming? What comes before Janmadhyasya? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. That's who. It's Krishna. So Vyasadeva wrote Upanishads. Then he wrote Vedanta Sutta to explain the Upanishads. Then he wrote Bhagavatam to explain Vedanta Sutra's commentary on Vedanta Sutra. So that's why in the first verse in Bhagavad Gita, he made sure you understand who is this Brahman. It's Vasudeva, Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. That is the real Brahman. Brahman has three aspects: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. So they're all Brahman. But Bhagavan, Brahman, the Paramatma and Brahman are coming from Bhagavan. Brahman is just the effulgence of Krishna's body. But Upanishads, they don't tell you directly, except there are a few devotional Upanishads like Gopal Tapani Upanishad. It directly tells you about Krishna. That yes, Krishna is this Brahman. So there is Brahman, but there is also Param Brahman. Param Brahman is Krishna, which where Brahman is coming from is Param Brahman. Just like in this room, there is some light. So light is impersonal, Brahman is impersonal. But we know the light is coming from somewhere. It's not just coming here without a source. Intelligent person will ask, what is the source? Where is Brahman coming from? Where is this light coming from? And the answer is Krishna. In Gita, in the 14th chapter, at the end of the 14th chapter, says, Brahmano hi pratishtaham. So what is the translation for that verse? That I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman. Krishna is supporting Brahman. So that's why we accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and everything is coming from him, including Brahman is coming from Krishna. And that's why we have Bhagavad Gita. Gita is called Gita Upanishad. Gita Upanishad. So it's the essence of all the Upanishads. The Upanishads are there, but they are hiding Krishna. You cannot find. Lord Brahma says, Vedeshu durlabham adurlabham atma bhaktya. Very difficult to find anything in the Vedas. Vedeshu durlabham. But adurlabham atma bhaktya. But it is very easy to find Krishna through his devotee. And that's why Arjuna, he's a devotee, and Krishna spoke Gita to him because he can understand. Only by devotional service can you understand Krishna. Any more?
Yeah. How to surrender and leave everything.
How to?
Surrender and leave everything.
Okay, first of all, surrender does not mean you have to leave everything. Only you have to leave your bad habits. Bad habits. So we have 4 rules. No illicit sex, no gambling, no intoxication, and no meat eating, no non-veg. So these 4 things you have to leave, and otherwise, the way to do it is to eat prasadam, Krishna prasadam. Before we were devotees, we also were used to eating non-veg. But then when we tasted prasadam, we could easily surrender and give up the non-veg. Another thing that will help you surrender is by chanting Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Mahamantra. You can do this at home. Even if you're still not following these rules, you can chant Hare Krishna mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this will also help you to surrender. If you start the chanting, then that will help you. And if you eat prasadam, these 2 things will help you to surrender. But surrender does not mean you leave your house, you leave your family, you leave your job. You keep your job, you keep your family, but you leave your low consciousness. We want to cultivate Krishna consciousness, which is a higher consciousness, and give up the low, debased consciousness, which just brings us more and more unhappiness. Any?
At what stage will our Siddha Swarup be revealed? Some people tell the Swarup of their disciples about their Siddha Swarup.
At what stage will the Swarup will we see our Swarup? Well, it all comes by chanting Hare Krishna. First level is Shraddha. You get a little faith. And the second level of devotional service is Sadhu Sangha. You associate with devotees. Then you will get more faith. And the third level is Bhajana Kriya. Bhajana Kriya means you take up the process of following the rules and regulations of bhakti. And then the fourth stage, Anartana Vritti, the dirty things in the heart become removed. And after that, the fifth stage is Nishta, where you're very determined, very convinced, yes, I must give my life for Krishna. Then, and at that stage, you can understand that Krishna's name and Krishna himself are non-different. Keep on chanting. Then at the next level is called Ruchi, or taste. You get some taste for chanting and doing devotional service. And in that level, you can appreciate the form of Krishna. And then the next level is asakti. You become very attached to Krishna and very attached to hearing and chanting. And at that level, you get to know the qualities of Krishna. Then when you come to bhava, then you see the pastimes, then you can get your sarup, and everything will be revealed at the level of bhava. And all of this will be revealed by chanting Hare Krishna.
Next question. When we visit church, we are not required to remove footwears.
I don't understand. Say that again, I don't understand.
When we visit church,
When we visit church, okay?
Church, we are not required to remove footwears.
We
But
don't-
when we visit temple, we are required to remove footwears. Why is it so?
The footwear is dirty, it's going all over the street. So out of respect, we remove it. Now, I cannot say why you don't do in the church. You will have to ask the priest. But for a temple, you remove the footwear because it's dirty. It's contaminated. It's going, walking through so many dirty places, the road and everything. So that's why we remove. But I cannot speak for the church why they don't. Only somebody from the church will have to give you that answer.
How can be sure that in our line chanting will automatically reveal our Swarup? Because as per Dhyan Chandra Goswami Pandit, Guru tells his disciple his Swarup, but this practice is not there in ISKCON and Gaudiya Math.
Yeah, this practice was in old days, ancient times. They used to tell your Swarup is this. But now we are not advanced enough in this Kali Yuga. In previous times, people were more in the mode of goodness. Now we are coming from ignorance, passion, everything mixed up. So if the Guru told us, now this is your Swarup, then we will just be confused and we will not follow the bhakti path. It's a gradual revelation. You don't get it all at once. I saw that some of Prabhupada's disciples, they went to some other Guru and the Guru told their Swarup, like one told him, you are a peacock. So he started behaving like a peacock. And people think you're crazy. So it's not for us to know these things at this time. We have to be patient, we have to be humble. We are not qualified to know our Swarup until we come to bhava. That is the level where the Swarup is revealed. And there are a group of people called sahajiyas who go ahead of time to try to understand their swarup. And they don't follow the rules and regulations. They smoke bidis and everything, and they say, yes, I'm a manjari. I know my swarup. So we don't want to be a cheap devotee. If you want something, the highest thing, then you have to work for it. You cannot be in the kindergarten and go to the PhD topics. So we are in the kindergarten. We are in the school. We cannot go before. Just like a child does not understand the relationship between the mother and the father, their intimate relationship. So we are like children in spiritual life. We have to wait for when we are qualified, and then Krishna will reveal. And the first qualification is to be free from all material desires, to be liberated. You have to be liberated in order to understand your swarup.
Some people from other ISKCON, other than Vrindavan, says we should live in Vrindavan only in old age. And before that, we should serve there where we are currently living and come to Vrindavan only for 3 days.
Other groups are saying. So what can I say about other groups? It's not our group. You have to ask the other group. Yeah, why are you saying that? So Prabhupada also recommended it's better to only visit for 3 days, because you may make offense to the Dham. You may make offense. So better not to stay here for a long time. If you make offense to Vrindavan, when we came to Vrindavan in 1972, Srila Prabhupada told us, don't make offense to Vrindavan, otherwise next life, next birth, you will become a hog, a dog, or a monkey in Vrindavan. So it's good that people don't stay more than 3 days, then they won't make offense. Yes, if you're not an advanced devotee, better not to stay more than 3 days, because you can fall down. And it has happened. It has happened.
I have dry tulsi plant. How to use? I have dry tulsi plant.
Dry tulsi plant.
Yes. How to use it in Krishna Bhakti?
Yes, it's dead plant? Is it? Speak in the mic.
It's dry, not dry.
It's what?
Dry. The dry tulsi plant.
Dry?
Dry tulsi plant.
D-R-Y.
D-R-Y.
Dry means it's dead?
I think.
Yeah, there's 2 ways you can use the dry tulsi plant. One way is in Kartik. You can make a giwik, put cotton on top of the tulsi plant, and offer it to Damodar in Damodarastakam in Kartik. And that's very, very auspicious thing to do. In Kartik time, make the cotton on top of the tulsi, dried tulsi stick, and offer it to Damodar. Another thing you can do, if somebody died, dead body, you can put tulsi on the dead body, then they will be elevated. You can use the dry tulsi for that also. 2 uses.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Can we wear tulsi kanthi mala if we are eating onion and garlic?
Srila Prabhupada allowed us to wear tulsi if we were eating onion and garlic. He allowed us to do that. That was but before we became initiated, not after initiation. You should not do that. Any more questions? No more questions. Yeah, here's a question.
Krishna Mataji, please have my respect to presences. In chapter 2, there are so many terms like buddhi yoga, karma yoga, nishkam, karma, sakam, karma. Can you please explain a little bit?
Yeah, well, actually, the term is buddhi yoga is there. There is no sakam and nishkam in Bhagavad Gita as such. It's from the commentators. So, But there, sakam and nishkam, that is something else. That is in Prabhupada's other books. But buddhi yoga is a very important term. It means it's the same as bhakti yoga. So buddhi yoga and bhakti yoga are the same thing, exactly. But buddhi yoga has another meaning, that you use your intelligence in Krishna's service. And then if you are engaged in 10th chapter, 10th verse, Krishna says, Dadami buddhi yogam tam. If you engage in service to me with love, then I will give you buddhi. I will give you intelligence. So we try to serve Krishna in love, and then we will get buddhi. And then we can do buddhi yoga. We can follow buddhi yoga. Any other questions?
See, and I was yesterday I was attending Bhagavad Gita class, and they were summarizing the chapter 2, and they were saying that chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita can be divided into 5 sections.
Okay.
So, as per Bhakti Shastri they were teaching or what, but the second is, the third section is that it is come to, verse from 2.31 to 37, it's come into Sakam Karma.
Yeah, so those terms are not from Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, but they are from the commentators. So the commentators, Vishwanath and Baladev, have used these terms, Sakam and Nishkam. Sakam means the beginning, you have some material desires, you come to Krishna consciousness. Nishkam is when you become free from those material desires and you only serve Krishna as he desires.
So what's the difference between Nishkam Karma and Bhakti Yoga? Is it a part or what?
Nishkam is generally used to mean before you get to pure devotional service, when you have the mentality of detachment. You're free from material desires. But freedom from material desires is not enough to make you a devotee. You can be liberated in the Brahman, but maybe not a devotee. Now, Prabhupada uses that term in a different way from the commentators. If you read his books, Nishkam, he will say, means a devotee. He has no desire other than to serve Krishna. It will be without any desire for himself, only to serve Krishna. So people get confused when they see the term Nishkam. But I have, studied Prabhupada's books for many, many years, and how Prabhupada used the term Nishkam is different from what you hear in the sections there. They're referring to a certain elevation, different steps, gradual steps in elevation to bhakti. But Prabhupada took Nishkam as the highest, but they don't take it as the highest in the commentators. Vishwanath Chakravarti maybe, but not all the commentators. So therefore, generally we take the word Nishkam as pure devotee, pure devotional service, no desire except to serve Krishna. Yeah, exactly.
So I asked this question earlier also, but somehow I'm not able to understand. Is Gajendra a pure devotee?
Is what?
Gajendra.
Is Gajendra
A pure devotee?
a pure devotee? Yes, he's a pure devotee. Why not? He's given as an example in the prayers of Prahlad Maharaj as a pure devotee. Hanuman, Gajendra, that if he's accepted by Prahlad Maharaj, then we accept him also as a pure devotee. Even the animals can do devotional service. So he was a pure devotee. The prayers of Prahlad, you can study the prayers of Prahlad, 7th canto, 9th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, where Prahlad glorifies Gajendra. Any more questions online?
In Hari Bhakti Vilas, there are many restrictions, but Srila Prabhupada for preaching purpose gave some relaxation, seeing the present condition like carrot and radish are forbidden in Hari Bhakti Vilas, but Srila Prabhupada allowed them. So what to do in such case? Should we follow Srila Prabhupada or Hari Bhakti Vilas?
If you are a Smarta Brahmin, you can follow Hari Bhakti Vilas. Mostly, it was written 500 years ago, and if he didn't put those restrictions in, the Smarta Brahmanas would not accept Vaishnavism. So those were put in, but we are not born in Brahmin families. In fact, nobody is born in Brahmin family unless they do the Garbhadan Samskara. Nobody, so therefore it is said, Kalo Shudra Sambhava. Everybody in Kali Yuga is born a Shudra. So therefore, you have to follow Srila Prabhupada if you want to be elevated. Everyone's Shudra. You have to follow Srila Prabhupada. We don't have any genuine Brahmanas. There may be a few, but that was written 500 years ago especially for the Smarta Brahmanas who had so many rules and regulations. They follow the rituals. But we follow Srila Prabhupada. He is the person who brought everything from India to the West and the whole world, even to India. Indian people, they didn't know all these things either. They just followed the tradition, but they don't know why they follow. And so Prabhupada had to teach Indians also why to do this, why to follow. And so he's our leader in Kali Yuga. If you want, you cannot go over Prabhupada to the previous. You can go to the previous acharyas, read the books, but you will not be able to follow. So Prabhupada has adapted it. He has not changed the principles, but he has changed the details. Principles are the same in Hari Bhakti Vilas and now, but details are different. So the acharya can change the details, but he will not change the principles. You'll find the same principles: worship Krishna, do deity worship, but the way we do it may be different now than 500 years ago.
Next question. How do we discipline ourselves to practice bhakti every day?
Well, how do we discipline ourselves to practice bhakti yoga? The best way, first of all, you have to follow the four regulative principles and chant Hare Krishna mantra. If you chant 16 rounds every day on your beads, like this, then that will help you to be disciplined. But if the most important thing is to associate with devotees, if you just try to do it all by yourself, then it will be very difficult to have discipline. Another thing is to take initiation from a guru who is following the devotional principles, who is preaching, and by that association, he will help you to be disciplined. The guru and the Vaishnavas, and then read the books, the Shastra, Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. They are all there to help you to discipline yourself. If you follow the rules, then it will also be follow the four regulative principles: no meat eating, no gambling, no intoxication, no illicit sex.
We don't get personal association of our Guru Maharaj, whereas Shastras say one should judge the Guru for 1 year before taking initiation. So what to do?
So, yes, it's important that how you get association these days is by the internet. And that's how. You go, you listen to the classes, you see how he answers the questions, and you can also write letters, and different gurus have different ways to associate. They have their shiksha disciples before they get initiated. They have different ways to get, so you can get to know them. It's very important. And now we're lucky we have internet. You can go and get classes. You can get initiation ceremonies. You can get so many things online.
If someone is in Madhurya Bhava, how will he see Krishna, Balaram or other Vishnu Tattva?
If someone is in Madhurya Bhav, the Gopis are meditating on Krishna Balaram every day. What they are doing, how Krishna is playing his flute, Venu Geet, how Krishna and Balaram are going to the forest. They see Krishna as Balaram as objects of their love. And how they see Krishna Balaram and who else? Only Krishna Balaram. That's the meditation of the Gopis.
Next question. We don't get personal.
You already did.
How to find a spiritual master, or we can say how to get a spiritual master to find us?
Well, you should take the ISKCON disciple course to find a spiritual master. They will tell you how. But basically, you should look for different qualities in the spiritual master. Is the spiritual master able to guide you in spiritual life? Is the spiritual master read Prabhupada's books and talk about Prabhupada's books? And also another thing you have to know, you have to see what service the spiritual master has for Prabhupada. Because if you take initiation from that spiritual master, you may have to be doing what the spiritual master is doing to help him. Just like His Holiness Bhakti Mark Swami, he's into drama. So you might have to be into dramas if you take initiation from him. He's also into walking long distances. You might have to do padayatra if you take initiation from him. Now there's Radhanath Swami. He likes to talk a lot about Leela. You should be interested in hearing Leela from him, sitting maybe hours and hours to hear Krishna Katha. And some devotees have the service to Prabhupada, some gurus to write books. So like Satyrupi has maybe over 100 books. You'll have to learn to read the Guru's books and maybe even help publish them and print them. So you have to look and see what service is this person doing, and make sure they're eager to chant Hare Krishna. They like kirtan, and also reading Prabhupada's books is very important.
Next question. Why in our parampara we have connection to shiksha and not diksha as a parampara? It's stressed only through diksha because one can have many shiksha gurus.
Well, shiksha is non-different, is as good as diksha. And it's not, most of them are diksha, some are shiksha, but because that's you have to see the time, place, and circumstance. How did Madhavacharya meet Vyasadeva? How did he go? He had to go very far to the Himalayas, and so did he have diksha or did he have shiksha? Narada Muni and Vyasa, there was diksha. Krishna and Brahma, there was diksha, but in a different way. Brahma heard Krishna in the heart. Brahma heard Krishna playing his flute. That was his initiation into Gayatri mantra. So, according to time, place, and circumstance, sometimes there's shiksha and some gurus, and sometimes there's diksha gurus. Shiksha is also acceptable, and the parampara is also acceptable.
Next question. Can I read Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita if I have not completed Bhagavad Gita?
Yes. It's very important to read Prabhupada's books. When in the 1970s we were distributing Chaitanya Charitamrita and Bhagavatam to non-devotees who never even read Bhagavad Gita. And one book at a time, not even the whole set. So maybe somebody will get a 5th canto or a 1st canto. And so yes, you can read. Why not? Read them all at the same time. Gita, read Bhagavatam, read Chaitanya Charitamrita. You don't have to wait.
Mataji, can you tell something about Radha Govindas Goswami Maharaj?
About what?
Radha Govindas Goswami Maharaj.
Radha Govinda Goswami Maharaj Ji. What can I say? He is a great devotee, I think from birth. There was a nice story about him, how he met Srila Prabhupada here in Vrindavan. That he came to Vrindavan and Prabhupada was sitting, and he came into Prabhupada's darshan, and Prabhupada was preaching to him, Lord Chaitanya is not the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Chaitanya is not Krishna. So Gaur Govind Maharaj got very angry and he said, why, what are you saying? He didn't know it was Prabhupada. He didn't know he's talking to Prabhupada. He said, what are you saying? Lord Chaitanya is God. He is Swayam Bhagavan. He is Krishna. And he was shouting at Prabhupada. And Prabhupada started laughing and laughing. He said, oh, very good. I will accept you as my disciple. Because he was testing him. Sometimes the Guru will test you. So Prabhupada was testing. He didn't know it was Prabhupada. And after he said, oh, please forgive my offense. Please forgive me. Anyway, I know now. I think he's not well, Gaur Govind Maharaj, right? I'm not sure if he's speaking or not. I haven't seen him for a long time. But he is very old. But I think the work is going on with his disciples. Disciples are speaking. He has some very, very wonderful disciples who can also speaking nicely Bhagavatam.
Next question. I am doing japa, but last some month I don't do japa in the morning. How do we improve this?
How to improve? You don't do japa in the morning. Don't eat heavy food at night before you go to sleep. Then you can sleep earlier. Then you can get up earlier and chant before you do other things in your day.
Why isn't each ISKCON temple independent instead of a centralized group of temples controlled by a few elite members?
As far as I know, each temple is individual and independent. And Prabhupada didn't want control. One time when Prabhupada was here, Karandar in LA wanted to make central everything in LA, and all the other temples have to listen to LA. And Prabhupada said, no, I want each temple to be individual. So as far as I know, each temple is individual, and they are controlled by the temple president and the congregation who lives there, as far as I know.
Next question. I want to complete 16 rounds in the morning. These days I feel difficult to do.
So Srila Prabhupada had a formula. He said, you chant. When he was Grihastha, Srila Prabhupada would chant 4 rounds before taking any breakfast. He wouldn't eat breakfast till he chanted 4 rounds. Then he wouldn't take any lunch before the next 4 rounds. Again, 4 rounds. Then no dinner until the next 4 rounds, and no sleeping until the next 4 rounds. So he would divide them like that. But if you want to do in the morning, then you have to start the day before. You have to start in the evening. Don't eat heavy foods at night, especially grains. And then you can sleep earlier, and you can get up earlier, and then you can chant in the morning. When I had my baby was small. As soon as mothers know, as soon as the baby wakes up, your day is finished. Your time is gone. I used to get up 2:30 every morning to chant my rounds when I had my baby. And then my day was free. So yeah, you can do it.
Next question. Mataji, how you met Srila Prabhupada?
Well, I met the devotees first. Before I met Srila Prabhupada, I met the devotees, and they asked me, I was coming to temple, then they said, why don't you stay over the weekend? Prabhupada is coming. So I stayed the weekend. Prabhupada did not come, but Vishujan Maharaj came. And because of his kirtan whole weekend, I didn't leave that temple. I didn't go back home. I went back, said goodbye to my husband, and I joined the temple. But my husband joined 2 months later, because he also was coming to temple. I met Prabhupada first in Gainesville, Florida. There's a story in Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita about Gainesville, remote corner of the world. So I did meet Prabhupada there first time. And the first time I saw him, it was at the airport, and I was walking behind him. And I said, I felt for the first time in my life, this is where I belong. And I never felt like I belonged anywhere in this world before. When I was 10 years old, I was looking at at the classmates in my school, and I said, I'm not one of them. I'm not one of them. I don't know where I came from. Maybe I came from another country or maybe another planet. One thing I know is I'm not American. I'm not one of them. But when I met Prabhupada, I said, yes, I'm one of them. I'm a devotee of Krishna, and I will follow him the rest of my life.
Can we visit Bhakti Bihari in Radha Vallabh temple of Vrindavan, being a ISKCON devotee? Are their sampradaya authentic?
Yes, of course. Why not visit? They are not the major temples. They are not established by our sampradaya, but they are still beautiful Radha Krishna temples. Prabhupada said there's 5,000 temples in Vrindavan. You can visit all 5,000 if you like. Why not?
Next question. We do bhakti regularly. However, sometimes we get ourselves in illusion. Am I doing right things or not?
Well, the bhakti is right. The illusion part's not good. Means you must, when you get into illusion, means you're not doing bhakti. You must, because Maya is right behind Krishna. So if you, 1 minute, if you don't do bhakti, Maya can catch you. Yeah, you have to make decision all through the day, every minute. Now I choose Krishna. Now I choose bhakti. Otherwise, yeah, internet is there. It can call you into so many places. The news, now so much news is there.
Next question. Is getting a child necessary in Grihastha life?
Is getting a child necessary in Grihastha life? Well, Chanakya Pandit says yes. If you don't have a child, then it's zero. Your Grihastha life is zero. So especially for the woman, it's very important because the woman has so much love. She wants to nourish. And when she gets the baby, then she can use that inside her, that need to love, to nourish, to take care. So especially for the woman, it's important to have the child. I'm glad I had my son. I was very glad. It came a little late in life, but it was very nice. And when you do have your own child, then you have to do, then you understand more what it means to have pure devotion. You have pure devotion to your child, unmotivated service to your child, unalloyed service to your child. You even die for your child. So it's the greatest love in this world to take care of a child.
Next question. How to develop taste in chanting?
How to develop taste in chanting. So try to hear very attentively the mantra that you are chanting at the moment. Hear that very attentively. Every syllable. 32 syllables, not Ram, Rama. Don't say Hari Ram, Hari Ram, Hari Rama, Hari Rama. Very, very important. Avoid the 10 offenses in chanting. The reason you don't have taste is because you're committing some offense to chanting Hare Krishna. So check yourself on the 10 offenses and see how you can avoid them.
Next question. Mataji, you are my role model. When it comes to reading Srila Prabhupada books, can you please tell me how is your daily schedule? How you take time out for reading?
How do I take time? Yeah, it's like breathing. How do you take time for breathing? You have to. So Prabhupada's books I have to read. I had burning desire my whole life to read these books. When I was a child, 7 years old, I would go to the library and take out every week 10 books. My goal was to read the whole library. Then I got Prabhupada's books, finished the library, and burning desire to read Prabhupada's books. So that is there for me. You need to read every day in order to have this desire. You need to read every day. Because I've read the books maybe 20 times at least, and I find something new every time. Every time I find, oh, I don't remember that from last time. I don't remember that. I find something new every time. And your reading will change as you make advancement in spiritual life. In the beginning, half of it you don't understand. Maybe you skip over the hard philosophical parts, just read the stories. But now, I relish everything. I like to read everything Prabhupada said, because he wrote it for us. He wrote it for me. So therefore, I do find time. At least before I go to sleep, I try to read Chaitanya Charitamrita and Srimad Bhagavatam at least.
Next question. I want to live as a brahmachari. I want to live as a brahmachari but have a family responsibility. So is it necessary for marriage to me?
He wants to live as a brahmachari and
have a family responsibility. So is it necessary for me to marry?
Yes. If you want to live you can live as a brahmachari in grihastha life. You can live as a brahmachari in grihastha life. If you want family responsibility, that's fine. That's not a problem. There is grihastha brahmachari. Prabhupada talks about it in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. I don't know exactly which verse. You can read the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita and find out how you can be a grihastha brahmachari. Yes, there are many grihastha brahmacharis in our movement. They live like brahmachari, although they are grihastha. If they want to have a child, they ask the Guru first permission. Then they do Garbhadan Sanskar only one time in a month. Sex life for a child. These are grihastha brahmacharis.
What is Sankhya? And how is it related to Bhakti Yoga?
What is Sankhya? Sankhya is a type of where you count all the elements of creation, and then you separate yourself from them. You separate the soul from the elements. Now, if you want to learn pure Sankhya philosophy, you can read Kapila Dev's teachings in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 25 to 33. And it's a combination of devotional service, Sankhya, and yoga, all combined. So he tells how, now he has more categories. The materialistic Sankhya philosophers have only 24, but he adds the soul and the super soul. So therefore, then of course devotional service is there. If you have super soul, one is servant, one is master. Yeah, you can read the Kapila Dev's teachings if you want to know. It's a lot of chapters.
Next question. Sending children to material school is sending to the slaughterhouse. How to train children into Krishna consciousness even though they are going to the material school? Can ISKCON without open an international school for both girls and boys? We can send to this school instead of material school.
Yeah, there are schools for girls and boys. One is in Alachua, one is in Mayapur. There's an international school for girls and boys. There is Mayapur, you can send. I think so. I don't know, but the girls you have to go with the girls. They cannot be in the ashram. There is international school in Mayapur. There is a school in Alachua, Florida. There is also a school in Vrindavan for both boys and girls, also now, where your children can go. But it's not a boarding school. You have to be here.
Mataji, we don't live in temple and do direct devotional service like preaching and deity worship. So, do we make spiritual advancement?
Yes, okay, but it's good if you do deity worship in your home. Maybe you cannot do in the temple, but you should make your home a temple. That's what Prabhupada advises. If you don't live in temple, then your home should be a temple. You can do your deities there. You can offer all your food to your deities there. You can sew for them. You can chant for them. You can do everything there, Mangalarti, everything, in your home. And there are many grihastas who have temples in their homes like that.
Mataji, in all your years in Krishna consciousness, did you ever realize Swarup of Srila Prabhupada? Was he in Sankhya or Gopi Bhav?
No, I didn't realize it.
ISKCON Bangalore have a pre-rhythmic system for all of their group of temples. Madhu Pandit Das initiates thousands so far on behalf of Srila Prabhupada. Can I accept Srila Prabhupada as my guru?
He is your shiksha guru, but you cannot accept him as diksha guru. For diksha, you need to be personally present. But he's your shiksha guru.
How to know that Krishna loves us?
Do you know? Do you have air to breathe? Do you have sunlight? Do you have drinking water? Do you have, are you alive? But if you want to see more how Krishna loves you, then you can say thank you, Krishna, for all the different things he gives you. And then you will see how much more he loves you. Thank you for the sunlight, Krishna. Thank you for the drinking water. Thank you for giving me this day to serve you. Then if you say thank you, Krishna, if you have gratitude, you will see how Krishna loves you.
I sometimes get bored while chanting. I don't want this and want to chant subconsciously also. What to do?
Preach to your mind. Tell your mind, I'm not listening to you. I want to chant. I know it's not easy. It takes time.
Why we only accept Srimad Bhagavatam as topmost scripture?
Because it is accepted by the Acharya. Srimad Bhagavatam is accepted by all the Acharyas as topmost scripture, especially Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati has accepted. And all the Acharyas, Jiva Goswami, has shown how, if you read the Tattva Sandarbha, you will see why we accept Bhagavatam as the topmost. He has so many reasons there. Why? Finish?
Can I come back to that Madhu Pandit?
Madhu Pandit, okay?
He is my godbrother.
He's your godbrother.
So since our Guru Maharaj is alive, is it okay he can initiate?
Well, according to ISKCON, and the members of ISKCON, they do not initiate if their guru is alive. But it sounds to me like he is not accepting what ISKCON is saying about that. And he's starting his own idea, his own movement, which is separate from ISKCON.
Even he has gone against his guru and gone to the court of law.
But it's not for us to judge. Prabhupada and Krishna will judge that. We are not the ones to judge what he has done. But obviously he's not following ISKCON, so definitely he's not actually a part of our ISKCON movement as it is today. He has started his own, and so yes, he is saying that the father can have children, but the son cannot have. The father cannot have grandchildren. So our Prabhupada is like the father, and now the present gurus are the children, and their disciples are the grandchildren. And Chaitanya Charitamrita says there is a verse which says there is the guru, there is the disciple, and there is the grand disciple. So in his movement there's no grand disciple. He has not allowed the children to have their own children. It's not logical.
This is magnanimity of our Guru Maharaj that finally he has forgiven him.
Yes, forgiven is okay, but then you have to stop your nonsense.
The last question is, if some devotees have astrology issues related to the health issues, how to solve it since it is disturbing daily sadhana?
Yes. When you come to the level of chanting on the clearing stage, then all of your health, all the planets will be counteracted. You have to come to the level of chanting. There's offensive, there's clearing, and then there's offenseless. If you just come to the second level of chanting, clearing stage, all your planets are counteracted. You're liberated from the influence of the planets. So chanting is the answer.
Can we take one more last question?
Yeah, it's not yet 12.
How to have unshaken faith in Krishna?
Okay. How to have unshaken faith in Krishna. When something difficult happens, do you thank Krishna? See, your faith will be tested when you're in difficulties. And if you pass the test, then you have unshaken faith in Krishna. Okay? Finish. Jai, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare